There was no phone signal, no backup. Only him and the fading bear. He chose not to walk away as long as there was a chance he could not turn his back, and so began the remarkable bond between a man and a dying bear. Ethan used an IV kit, slid a needle into the vein, and dripped saline into the body. Slowly, he gave low doses of antibiotics, pain relief, and then wrapped the frail body in a thermal blanket. Night was falling. He stayed by its side and switched on the truck lights, keeping watch all night in the freezing air. The bear did not struggle, only shifted a little sometimes, letting out a faint groan in the silence. Ethan placed his hand on its back and whispered, "If you want to live, trust me now by dawn." He caught a weak satellite signal and sent an alert to the Algonquin Wildlife Hospital. The center confirmed they would send a helicopter at first light throughout the night. He checked temperature, kept the IV running, monitored every breath, like protecting a fragile flame, he decided. To name the bear Bruno, a simple name carrying hope in the middle of the icy wilderness, there were only headlights. Bruno's faint pulse, and a man who would not give up when the helicopter arrived. The team was stunned by Bruno's shocking condition. They carefully lifted him on a stretcher, continued the IV, and rushed him to the emergency unit on the helicopter. Ethan stayed close, holding the IV bag during the 200-kilometer flight south at the Algonquin Wildlife Hospital. Chief Veterinarian Lily Dawson declared Bruno's case nearly hopeless. His hind legs were unresponsive, spinal damage, severe muscles wasted, and organs already failing. Lily said plainly, if he survives, he will never walk again, let alone return to the wild. But Ethan insisted, "We won't give up. Let's try to give Bruno one last chance." The spinal surgery lasted 8 hours, trying to ease pressure on the spinal cord after surgery. Bruno was placed in intensive care, given nutrition and antibiotics. Ethan took a month off, worked to care for him full-time, never leaving his side. He slept on a folding bed outside the cage, feeding Bruno porridge with honey and electrolyte water. After 3 weeks, Bruno was still immobile, but his heartbeat and breathing grew steady one morning. Lily checked him and broke into tears when she saw Bruno's tail move faintly. The staff began physical therapy, immediately stretching stiff muscles, restoring reflexes. Bruno didn't resist, his eyes always following Ethan whenever he stepped away. The entire center felt renewed hope, as if Bruno was fighting with them. His first unsteady steps after 2 months went viral online from near death. Bruno slowly became a living emblem of nature's healing strength. Ethan and Bruno formed a deep bond with a single touch of his hand. Bruno would make a soft, loving growl each time he left the room. Bruno's eyes stayed on him, which touched the nurses. Bruno cooperated in therapy, never groaning or showing weariness. Ethan read stories, played gentle music, and even recorded his voice to play. When away, despite weakness, Bruno managed to stand and take moving steps. The medical team was overjoyed. They had never seen such recovery. Bruno was no longer just a patient, he became a symbol of survival. When he regained strength to walk, Bruno was moved to the semi-wild protected zone inside Algonquin. Ethan was always first in with food. Bruno would rush to him, rubbing his head against his legs like a cub one snowy morning. Bruno refused to eat, his eyes fixed on the far forest. Ethan opened the gate to test him. Bruno turned his head, gave a soft growl, and led him into the woods. They walked through snowy pines, crossed a dry stream, and stopped near a hollow tree inside. Ethan was shocked to see 3 small, shivering bear cubs. They were Bruno's cubs he had tried to raise even while starving himself. Bruno moved gently without growls, licking each cub tenderly. His eyes filled with fatherly care. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, realizing Bruno had nearly died seeking food for his family. He quickly alerted the rescue team the cubs were taken in fast. Bruno led rescuers to the hollow standing guard as each cub was wrapped and carried out. All 3 were frail, malnourished, covered with ticks and underweight. Ethan brought them back to the hospital, placing them near Bruno to help them feel safe. Bruno gently licked each cub. Even sharing his food, the doctors were amazed to see a male bear act like a devoted parent, never leaving them alone. 2 weeks later, the cubs stood up, learned to walk and bottle feed. Bruno still stayed close each night, keeping a paw over them as if guarding from danger. Ethan could hardly believe he saw a bear family. Reborn in the wild, the news spread across Canada. The press called Bruno the father of Algonquin. Letters of thanks, children's sketches, and donations poured into the center. Daily, Ethan kept one drawing of him, and Bruno standing in the forest. Back to back, he knew his life was tied to the creatures. Once near death, Bruno and his cubs stayed another year, then were released into the wider semi-wild area south of Algonquin. Bruno stayed slim but stronger, his coat thick and black again, his eyes shining with trust in people. Ethan visited, sometimes bringing honey fruits and a flute Bruno enjoyed whenever he played it. Bruno would step out of the forest, keeping some distance to greet his old friend. The cubs grew strong, climbed trees, fished easily, and began exploring without Bruno. He was not sad. The father bear watched them, then went back to his quiet forest spot. Sometimes a female bear came around, and Ethan joked Bruno had a new partner. Bruno lived 7 more years, a real second life, thanks to compassion. In his last year, he stayed in the forest, resting under a pine tree, looking at the sky, one autumn morning. Bruno closed his eyes and fell asleep by a rock, a final rest in his homeland. Ethan built a small stone marker, engraved with Father of Algonquin Forest. Every year he returned, placing honey and playing the flute, as if Bruno still listened. Schools nearby told his story as a lesson in care and courage. The tale of the starving bear and the doctor who saved him became part of ecology classes, and in Ethan's heart, Bruno was forever his silent friend from the deep forest back from death.